Welcome to Surviving to Thriving with Clare Downham, where I share insights on the inside-out nature of life so you can stop the inner critic running the show and step into thriving in every aspect of your life. I hope you find this episode helpful. Hi there. Today, how to move forward despite self-doubt. And I think this is just so vital, particularly, I think, for the business owners out there, but I suspect for many of the rest of us too, because I am a business owner, but I think it comes up in all sorts of aspects of life. This sense that we're not supposed to be, that we're just not supposed to be doing what we're doing. I think that's what it sort of comes down to, this sort of niggling sense that we shouldn't be here doing this, that we shouldn't be saying what we want to say to the world, that we shouldn't be turning up and sharing what's in our heart. And I think it's extremely common. I see it an awful lot with those of us that are on some kind of spiritual or self-development journey, possibly more than other people. Now, of course, some of us that do teach spiritual stuff and self-development stuff and stuff that is about healing people, we're not the only ones who are on the spiritual journey, of course. You know, I meet accountants and, beauty salon owners and all sorts of people who are on some kind of spiritual path. And it seems to me that the message there often is, you need to get to a point of feeling a particular way, and that self-doubt needs to be eliminated before you can move forward. But what I want to really talk about in this video is about moving forward despite the self-doubt and despite the horrible inner critical voice chatting away, or perhaps not chatting away, screaming away, I think possibly for many of us, in the background, or perhaps not in the background. Perhaps it feels to you like it's in the foreground most of the time. Now, a great example of this, and this is something that I've learned a lot from the lovely teacher George Cow, who I love to learn from. You know, I'm here doing this video now, so you may be listening to this somewhere or watching it somewhere at a later date, but this is being done live currently on more than one platform using a really fabulous bit of kit called Restream, which I use to do this kind of thing. And I don't know that I particularly felt inspired to come on and do this video for you. I don't know that I ever feel like it's the most exciting thing to do in the world, or that I'm buzzing with it at all. However, there is underlying that, there's this really strong sense of a message that I want to share with the world. And I see more and more that me creating content like this is a way to get that message out into the world. Now, before, for many years, I was kind of waiting to feel okay before I did this, waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel good enough, I suppose, was probably a big part of it. And that involved me doing lots of different kinds of therapy and poking around in the past and doing morning rituals to try and get myself into the right state to be able to show up and create a video like this, especially doing it live. And now I feel like my mind is, or perhaps, my mind isn't quite so much interfering. And there's just a sense that this is what I want to do to move forward. Now, I was just listening to one of George's podcasts, and he was talking about how, when we're little children, tiny, learning to walk, learning to talk, learning to use cutlery, all those kind of basic things that we learn to do when we're really small, we don't have any self-doubt at all. Isn't that amazing? Like, there's, I often talk about how little children at a wedding or a party, the little children are the first ones onto the dance floor, aren't they? Like, as soon as they feel the music through their body, it's like there's something alive, something that comes alive, or perhaps a sense of connecting to aliveness. The aliveness is always there, of course, especially in a young baby, in all of us. Perhaps we don't see it so much, but it is. And as the music plays, that child just comes alive. They just come alive, and they want to move and shake bits of themselves and get into the energy of the music. And that's because they don't have any self-doubt. They just have this aliveness running through them. And that's what I would love you to see today, really, that I know every single one of you has something that you want to do that you're not doing. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be listening to this or watching it, wherever you're doing that. There's something in you that wants to come out into the world, that wants to be freed from universal intelligence, I suppose, is a way to say it. It's like you're this conduit, really, to bring things into the world. And I think I heard somebody say this morning that they sort of said, well, the energy of life doesn't really care whether you have got loads of self-doubt. There's a drive there to bring things into the world, to bring things to life. And if you don't do that, then it'll go somewhere else. Somebody else will, because there is this alive energy that wants to move things and create things and bring things from formless to form. We're the conduit for that. But if we're not ready and we're self-doubting and we're sitting in a corner waiting to feel ready, or doing some endless therapy to feel ready, then it'll go somewhere else. And there's a lovely story in Big Magic written by Elizabeth Gilbert where she talks about how she came up with the idea for a book, and she started to sort of research it and write some of it, etc. But it was like in a folder on her computer. And then she had something personal happen. Something happened in her life that she really had to invest all her time and energy in. She didn't have any time to write, or emotional energy, to be fair. And she then went for a coffee catch-up with a friend of hers, who was also an author, who she didn't see very often, but they kind of kept in touch. And this woman had written a very, very, very similar book to the one that Elizabeth Gilbert had been planning, because that idea just needed to come into the world. It was ready. And I've had that experience myself, where I've not perhaps expanded on a particular idea of mine, and I've then gone, oh, somebody else has done that thing that I was going to do. It's very interesting to see that happening. It really is. And I think that's cool to see, like the spiritual side, to see the the aliveness that we are all part of, that we're all connected to, that we all are. And then there's something really practical about the very idea that you shouldn't have self-doubt, and that should be gone for you to do things. Why does it need to be gone? Well, because you're believing the thoughts, the doubtful thoughts, the inner critical thoughts, because you're believing them. That's the only reason why you think they have to go away before you can do something. But what if they didn't have to go away? What if they could be there and you could not be in the mood to create, but you still showed up because you had made a commitment to yourself and to the people who you are going to help in the world? Whether that's with an offer you're going to make, or some content you're going to create, or the person you're going to ask out who's going to be your perfect person, and you're not asking them out because you're doubtful. Like, there's something about following those really strong nudges, those intuitive nudges that are telling us all the time to move forward, and not listening to the self-doubt. And it turns out that we don't have to wait for it to be gone in order to move forward. Honestly, we don't. That's super, super powerful to see. That's been life-changing for me, I think, in terms of what I find myself able to do on a day-to-day basis. Has massively increased, not to the point of silly, overdoing it, burnout kind of stuff. I've been there, I've done that. I'm not going to do that again. But more the sort of, just I'm showing up and doing these things and I'm going to do them. And yes, my mind might be banging on about how I shouldn't, and the self-doubt might be massive. But what if we still just showed up and we still did the things that we want to do in the world and said the things we wanted to say in the world and expressed our true, authentic message with the world? That, to me, seems a lot more important than listening to self-doubt. It really does. So I hope that's been helpful. I hope that's given you some things to just bring some awareness to, I suppose, is the most important thing, really. Like, this is not about getting rid of self-doubt, because that's just not possible. But it's about seeing that it's supposed to be there. Like, it's okay for you to feel self-doubt and still do things. Every single day that's possible. So if you found this helpful at all, you can find ways to get in touch with me wherever you watch or listen to this. That will be a way to get in touch with me. I'm happy to hop on a call with somebody and explore this, or check out what other things I've got on offer at the moment. So take care, lots of love, and thank you so much for tuning in today. And I hope you find this really helpful. Lots of love. Bye. Thank you so much for spending this time with me on Surviving to Thriving. I hope this session has been helpful. If it resonated, I'd love for you to follow me and maybe share this episode with someone you care about. Until next time, be kind to yourself and trust your inner knowing.